So I'm gonna take on the healthy assumption, right? Like this thing is working, or it's gonna work properly because the results that I saw from yesterday's came out pretty decent. So can't really, won't really, no need to really complain. I'm trying to see. I think I might have skipped a step in this, right? As far as being finally able to get to a ordering stage, right? Got the got the eyes on, right? Rolling and rumbling, which I'm trying to figure out in my mind. Like I'm looking back there because I'm thinking, is that too gone? I'm gonna have a two pot system where essentially, uh, you know, the greater sum of water is gonna be the simmering side, whereas the one on ready, right? One on ready is this is gonna actually coat over the ice because I even had to wake up earlier today. Welcome back, y'all. I think this is gonna be, like I said, I think this is gonna be the sugar works, right? Of how this works out. Because I ended up having to, so got all those shavings down, after that cutout, right? After a soprano cut, and this is probably gonna be in the same regard, right? Like I said, just the battery died, and that was it. That was the show. Um, right? And I still talking to myself. It didn't matter. I was able to get it done and get it in that whole container. I'm not gonna weigh it. You know what I mean? I'm right now. I have a set count, or a set unit of box that I kind of just want to work from that and batch it in that fashion. So what I did is I ended up taking the uh I ended up taking excuse me uh that was the one thing I did. I was like, that works, right? As far as the sky mic of it, especially when it comes to anything that's down there or gets on your apron, right? Because you'll probably take your apron off and be like, oh well, what happened there? But with that in mind, I ended up making this concoctions of sorts, right? And it definitely has a golden quality. I let it sit for 6 hours in the fridge, although the recipe in mine, or the recipe that I'm referencing, calls for 24 hours. And so 24 hours, I definitely would say it'd be for an event batch, right? Like I said, this is just the planning nature of thinking of something. But when it comes to actually having a simple batch, quick batch, or a rotating batch within a supply chain, right? Same thing with the two pot system. When it comes to having that mentality, you got to think about it in increments of, right, 4 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, even though that's, so you're basically you're six batches behind, right, or six batches ahead, or whatever case, and how much that produces. Because I have no idea. All I know is I ended up taking. I did skip the sugar part, right? Sometimes when you say you put your foot in it, keep that the secret of things. But I ended up taking, the lowest common denominator, or the the solution that I know I can validate, right? The most validic is not a word. I want to say validic is not a word, but I feel like it is. We'll look it up later. We'll make it up as we go. But I will say that for a whole food product, which like I said, depending on how we go about, um, solidifying some things on it. I'm just gonna go with that, right? Because that's just a matter of taste, right? Matter of taste. Everything, your stuff can be good in a matter of taste. They don't have to taste exactly the same, and I think that's the inconsistent nature. I think that's the inconsistent nature of life that I do kind of like, or a roller coaster that has no hills and no loops is just a train, right? And so then if you're set yourself, if you're set in a self of train, which is a consistency, if you set yourself in a train, then you're on your way to something, right? Like there's a destination, or there's a case. But I will say, speaking of trains, man, they finally released the you know what? We can talk with our hands, or we can talk and use our hands at the same time. And we could chew gum and walk at the same time, which I remember hearing that for the first time and thought, man, that was just burn. Like we didn't have to take it like that. And this is just talking about grade school shenanigan. But now let me focus before we get started on trains, because that can go on forever and ever. Um, what train of thought where were we having? Oh yeah, no. It's like I said, I made this. I might have already left this station. It can come back again, but I already, like I said, make this sugar and concoction from that bowl of zest. The other thing is, so when it comes to like science, right, and writing stuff down, documentation, all that good stuff, sometimes you still have to have, you have to have two groups. And for me, I don't like to call one a control and one an experiment, because sometimes you end up finding yourself still having to go over each rendition, right? Because you still got to find out what's going on. Even and I'm not saying that as far as scientific method. I'm saying is just looking at it from something that the environment, right? Short of time, time is always a factor that you're gonna have that you just don't have control over. Um, in an environment, right? Because you gotta know what time it is. Even if you were to travel from Hawaii to Guam, it wouldn't, you'd still be in a place that makes time, right? Makes up time. But let's let's see. Uh, oh, I know what we're gonna use you for. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn these down because I already see it happening. Come back to some ashy pots and a fire and be like, well, what happened here? See, what had happened was, and that's the kind of stuff that you kind of feel like, just hear the whole thing out. If you hear the whole thing out, when you look at it from when you look at it from a vision of 2020, right, with perfect sight, if perfect sight was availed to you in a scenario like that, it's one of those things that you just go like, well, that's what was meant to happen. Okay, so what's meant to happen right now? We're gonna do batches of these though, because I want to make sure that let's just go for the box. We'll go for the box. So for this thing, I would think the one thing I will say for this particular mechanism is the uh the motion of it doesn't have a locking mechanism. So I was like, oh man, that's going, like I said, going back to safety checks or rhythm checks and knowing, where something is a hazard or a pinch point. It's one of those things where I said that's definitely a pinch point that I would have to take in as a set of risk, right? Because it hurt, but it hurt me enough to cause me to think like you shouldn't do that, right? Like you shouldn't hurt, like that's too much. But if I was to say those, but see, these lemons are pretty tiny, so when it comes to cutting them in half, you know, like I just want to like let's just try it now. I'm just too excited and I can't hide it, right, about doing this. Aside, I'm having to figure out how we're going to uh go about. But you know what? We might just leave those alone because that process that I can already see how these seeds are sitting, and I'll just leave them alone, right? But if a we were to take a glass, gravity is turned on. Oh, gravity is on. I always love that one because people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, listen, soon we will be in places where gravity will be optional, and you will see yourself thinking, did I turn the gravity off? Just like you say the stove or the oven. Speaking of, yes, we are all set and square on two on. Okay, so this thing, like I said, is just another nifty gadget. Go gadget lemon, right? Which PSA, as I sit here and hear these motorcycles outside, watch out for motorcycles, right? Look twice, and listen up, right? I know you're having a whole concert in the car, but sometimes your music is drowning out the environment that you kind of need to see, and the environment that you need to see is that people are out here because spring is here. Spring has sprung, and we are here, and I'm excited. I'm telling you, I'm excited. It's like the dog that shakes its tail that's docked, just shaking his whole body himself. Like that's how I feel inside as far as looking at what we got. But like I said, I'm a I like gadgets. Gadgets are pretty cool, but when it comes to industrial gadgets, that makes it happen. That's pretty cool too. So I have no idea how they would expect somebody unless you would place it and then press it. I guess so. So that means it needs to be something that is allowed. Okay, that's one. Aha! I see, said the blind man to the deaf dog. I knew we had a container for a reason, but we can do this later. This is something definitely for later. But we find ourselves getting thirsty in the midst of things, that will work. But I think that's more than fair of of a stamp. But that would have to be pressed. Kind of reminds me of the dog on a Mario Party game. They would have the two. It was a four-player. Or actually, no, it was four-player because it was Nintendo 64. Four-player game where, and then you would get teamed up between whatever fraction you have on the game system, and then all the seeds are there. So that makes a lot more sense in doing so, because that's the other major element in it, right? As far as being able to even have consistency in a fruit, right? A fruit without seed seems to make question of because I feel like that's what makes the fruit, right? But I have no idea, and I'm saying that as far as I've heard the argument of tomatoes being fruit and pumpkins being fruit, but something else like I think a cucumber is a vegetable. But I know that but I think it's the seeds on the inside or seeds on the outside. That might be what it is. Is it? I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. But what rabbit hole we need to start on right now? So this needs to get cut. So maybe we just don't even cut the ends. The ends don't matter. The ends don't matter. So that complicates. See, this is when you have to have those good folks in your life, right? Actually, we can dispose of these as is. You gotta have those good folks in your life that just go like, I think you complicated that, and they're like, well, what are you talking about? And you're just like, try again. Like think again, because that's not computing in my mind. I'm not sure how it's computing in yours, but something along the way made that way more complicated than it needed to be. That's how you lose a pinky. Did you know that? Man, oh man. But speaking of, what are we gonna do tonight, Brain? We are going to um dominate this space real quick. I'm trying to think what's going on back here because it changed. It changed in tone. Oh, that's what it is. And I was just thinking about the far as like a whistle. Because that's one thing I like about the kettle pots, right? Kettle pots have a whistling system where they have something that basically tells you, like, hey, I've reached this point and you should come get me whistling right here. Whistling for you over there working. And if you ain't working, I know you're working. I'm whistling. Because I got that tea. The whistling system of a teapot. But nah, I'm talking now about a train whistle. And I want to go see this train whistle. They have there we go. That I can get down with. I do know I need to. Speaking of, let's write that down before we do forget. Safety first, always safety. I want to, because I have seen that, right? I've already seen not necessarily Kevlar gloves or cut free gloves, but that's something that does need to. Where's a pin? I'm sitting here looking for a pin that should have been right here, right here. Pin is a part of your uniform. I learned that when in one of those first job stories, kind of, as far as like the wonder years. Pin is a part of your uniform. But okay, what was I going on about? Oh yeah, safety. What do you mean going on? Yes, safety gloves for cutting. Even though this knife, I'm not necessarily like all things that are sharp are sharp for a reason, but I like having all things in an order that makes sense. Oh, this is not gonna take too long. Like I said, it's a matter of just trying to. I think I got a good grip on the shavings of these things. I mean, some of them definitely have a different minion yellow than others, right? different minion yellow, but uh, I'm satisfied. Nah, but this big boy. So there's this big boy for the Union Pacific. Union Pacific has these different trains and locomotives and engines, right, that they incorporate. we're gonna need a bigger pot. Stand by. Gonna need a bigger boat, Treef. I don't have a bigger boat. Well, you're gonna have to make do. Haha! And here we go. Here we go. Make do be do. Doobie doobie doo, Scooby dooby doo. There we go. They like it, I love it. But anyway, this train, right? This train is it's I think it's like three quarter. I'm not sure how big it is on like this like the scale, right? I couldn't give you a number that would make me feel confident in a number, but I don't know it's like basically I think 3/4 or half of a 747. So how do we get back into that bad habit, right? What made that habit go back? That's the kind of stuff that when you start doing repetitive things, right? That's why working out or the consistency, going back to we're talking about trains versus roller coasters, in that a roller coaster that you're on that doesn't have the inconsistencies, right? The thrill of loops and the thrill of this jerk and that jerk, you know what I mean? And this loop and that loop, and that height and these lows and these screams. The thrill, right? The thrill of a roller coaster. You don't have the thrill of a roller coaster, but the consistency of a good track that a roller coaster does require, right? A good roller coaster, as in a roller coaster that 10 people came on the roller coaster, 10 people had fun on the roller coaster, and 10 people left off a roller coaster, right? I will say, yeah, these things, giving these things a good squeeze. I think that um, I am so sorry for bouncing off. That squirrel is. I was able to get him, so I'm gonna get him right now. The squeeze tendency or the squeezing that we have, or the squeeze technique that we incorporated yesterday. I will say I'm satisfied with what's coming out of this because the juice is maintained, but it's now settled enough that I feel confident that we're gonna get as much of what is inside, right? Um, water per weight. But what was I going on about? I was going on about yeah, that's what makes a good that's what makes a good roller coaster, right? So when you're in a train of thought, right, you have a destination in mind, and in this particular case, I feel like I'm not sure if this train, if the big boy, the Union Pacific or the UP, I'm not sure if their train or this particular 414 is what it's called, or number 4014 4014. Uh, it's touring on the West Coast basically. Now they finally released the dates for it. I mean, I'm trying to think. Well, and which makes sense because it's summertime, or not summertime, but it's warming up, right? Like it's warming up to be because I know for a lot of other folks out and about, spring is still a little brisk, right? Brisk in temperature or brisk in environment, but here it's starting to be a little going back to those roller coasters. The weather has had a roller coaster of effect, um, a roller coaster of effect here in Nevada. I'm not even going to say just Las Vegas, but here in Nevada because it's very awesome and interesting to see. I mean, we just had snow. We had snow cap on in the Las Vegas area. We had snow cap the other day, and I was like, what? How do we have snow cap in the middle of April? Because then it kind of makes me go back and say, okay, someone get that groundhog on the phone. I mean, like someone get that groundhog on the phone and put him to blame, because I feel like when it comes to the consistency, I don't know what the going rate is for the I don't know what the going rate is for the success, right? Or the successful prediction of the groundhog, right? But I wouldn't make it better than a coin. I feel like the groundhog. But you know what? I mean, now just to bring it to the forefront, right? There is a whole club for this particular groundhog. I think it's out of Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's a whole club of uh what is it called? Punks Punks are saying Punks are tiny, Punks seen him. It's a name for it. I'll post it, or I'll put it on as to what it is because it's a name. It's definitely one where you're like say the password, and if you can say the name, then you possibly you know you belong here because you know how to pronounce it. But they basically are the ones who host the yearly Groundhog Day ceremony of seeing the groundhog if he sees his shadow or not. Which I feel like the fable. I think the fable is that if if the groundhog does see its shadow and runs back in, that is it springs here because he's afraid of his shadow, and the only reason why he would see his shadow is because the sun was able to be the sun was risen beforehand or something odd. I have no idea, but I'm gonna look up the statistic of how often that doggone groundhog makes it. That's what it was. Punxsutawney groundhog. Man, oh man. Ah, see, and those were two. Those are. I don't know what made me go about those two trigger points because what I just even read off was some of the things that when you go out, right? Because I will say every lemon I'm starting to see is a different size, right? Every lemon is of a different it's coming in differently. It's coming in on a different rough. Like some of these lemons, like I just asked myself, why did my process change, right? Like what happened as to why I'm feeling myself reach over, and I see now why I'm reaching over because some of these lemons, right, or some of the picks of these have these stems, right? So it's being able to snuff out and say, hey, and if the lemon happens to have this, do that, this, that, and the other, without feeling a certain way to change up that consistency because when you change that consistency, right, we are no longer on a train. We are no longer training. We are on a roller coaster. And guess what? Some things require you not to be on a roller coaster, but on an actual train that's going somewhere. Now it's just a matter of do you know where that train is going? Do you happen to know? Because if you don't know, you're gonna miss it. And if you miss it, because your pillow was too good to sleep, you know what I mean? Your pillow was too good to sleep, then you gotta wait for the next one, and that goes along with the same train of thought, right? So I figured out what that is, right? It's a matter of collection. Just a matter of collection. I don't think that has to be a whole separate process or separate dealings. That can just be a separate um, undertaking. Now I will say when it comes to what I'm looking at on the skin of these things, right? Everyone is a certain minion yellow that make me kind of think, okay, well, I'm kind of excited to see how they pan out, right, or what I kind of see panning out in the shavings of it, right. But I'm still not entirely in understanding, right, of this particular fruit. I never get to recognizing what the difference was in citrus of it all, but that's something I can always do. I was able to get that at least done today while I was waiting for other things to upload, upcook, and undertake because things take time. Because things take time. Yeah, no, but the way I was able to use that idle, right, that idle time or that idle understanding, was going through my. Usually, I have a set of bookmarks, right. There comes a point, like I said, there comes a point where I have to look at my library and understand that the knowledge within it, right? The knowledge within that library that while happy and while good and while historically accurate, right, kind of defeats its own purpose with the updated knowledge that we have now, right? As it grows in size and taxonomy, yada yada yada. And like I said, I'm just going on about library science because that was kind of where the first bookmark started, and I was like, huh, that's pretty interesting, but I know why, right? I ended up going to a really really good talk at the beginning of this year at the convention, where they went into library science, and it never occurred to me, but I just know that the library is also a really really interesting place. But um, with that in mind, you have to I treat it on that same mental scale or that same mental metaphor, right? On understanding like, okay, this is what we have going on, and this is how we're gonna manage this, right? Because that's all it is the management of XYZ, whatever XYZ is. It's one thing I do miss in the now ending of April. Um, April is a special month to me in regards to my paternal grandmother. She was always a go getter, And it's times like these, right, which is every day, which is every day, but it's times like these that I really truly just put her in missing, because she was always that. Oh, you want to do that? How you want to get that done? Like, it wasn't a question of like, oh, when this that. Nah, she was like, you down? I'm down. Like let's do this. And for me, it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, this could get dangerous quickly, and it surely did, because it created a great attitude. Like I said, you got to mature out of some of the inconsistencies that come with, you know, the roller coaster thrill, right, when you're a kid. Because that's the one thing when you just kind of recognize that you outgrew something. I remember outgrowing. I remember growing up to be up to my first roller coaster, and I remember being able to say, "Oh man, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I'm good on roller coasters." And I'm talking about as far as like that being the purpose and soul and being. But you know what? It's been a while since I've been on a roller coaster. I just think I'd probably take it into time. Like, I think I'd just be too deep in thought to recognize anything about it, or having looked at it for the last 30 minutes. Like, if I could schedule to go on a roller coaster, I'm talking about like way ahead of time. Like, I'm like, look, I showed up right here to go on this roller coaster, did not want to sit in this line. I would pay $10 extra. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about like, and be able to get there. Like, I didn't have to, like, if I got there just like any other appointment, like say like the DMV or something. I'm like, hey, came to ride this roller coaster. I want to be done by this time, this time, this time. But that's just the control freak nature, right? Like that ruins the whole thrill, because when you start scheduling stuff, you just trained your roller coaster to be a train in disguise. But anyway, yeah, she she took up a lot of time, and when I say time, I mean, and I don't say took as in like stole, but I had this year's April was definitely different. It was a different April. Like I said, that allowed me to even go about and recognize that when you have 18 people, right, then you need to cherish those 18 people while you 18 got them. Because I'm telling you, when the 18 gets called, the 18 gets called. Man, oh man. But where do we leave off on that too? Oh no, that's what I was. Yeah, no, I need to look up. I need to look up where Andy Cap's fries are coming in at, because I just bought this big. When I say this big bag of fries, and I ate the little one last last night, because they're looking at me look at them, and but I want to see if this one's a different, because I was even getting into like a mindset to thinking of like, do people can you let me take it two steps back, right? Well, that was a good one. That's a not pure, but that's a good one. That's as far as an exemplar example of getting the rind off, right, but being consistent. Um, no, but what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Knockoff? Like, is it not knockoff stuff? But it's not fraudulent. What is the word I am looking for? Ah, it is called counterfeit. Counterfeit. That's what it is. Counterfeit. Counterfeit goods. I don't think you can. I'm trying to think. Can you counterfeit snacks? You know what I mean? If someone was like, "Yo, I got these Cheetos here," and then someone hands you, you know what I mean? It's basically like the same as like Crayola to say Rose Art, but even though Rose Art's its own brand name, so that's not fair, right? That's not fair to Rose Art. That's not fair to the. Shout out to the kids out there that have Rose Art. Look, me, that kid. I remember being, just as a short story, or on a side quest story. As we get further and further down this this box of lemons, right? I remember winning an art contest as a kid. I think it was second grade. Yeah, it had to be second grade, because that's when my dad came into the classroom, because he came to deliver the news, right? Like, he actually took the day off work. I was pretty impressed upon, right? Um, I was like, okay, cool. This is good news. Came in to tell me that I had won the local Michael's art contest. And I think it might have been a coloring contest, either art contest or a coloring contest. But long story getting shorter, um, I got that gift card. I was balling. You couldn't tell me nothing. Like, 8 years old, and you winning something. You won it like by letter, by name. Let's do this. And they had that whole aisle, and you know what I mean. And Crayola still holds down. They still hold down that planogram. I can tell you right now. Because, like I said, when it comes to looking at the different definitions of these lemons, right, each one is having its own shade of yellow that has me just kind of tickled, right? Because if you scanned it, or if you took it through a scanner, and you were able to delineate, right, the shades of yellow, that's where I would start, right, is with Crayola kind of stuff. But yeah, no, that's how the neurons are fighting today while we're getting down to this last little bit here. Give me 1 second to place a focus on making sure we leave with what we came. I left with what I came, and of course I look up that doggone 300 reference to see if they sent a messenger back, and they cut it off because it's a theatrical work, right? Going back to, can you counterfeit snacks? And this bag of hot fries, man, this bag of hot fries, and then so the bag of hot fries being something of a nature, like I said, um, backtracking, or not backtracking. Oh, that was a good one. I messed that up. Um, Backtracking into that doggone snacks reminds me of offering, right? Offerings, because I remember walking into a space, right, a tavern of such, and they were having a um what's the word I'm looking for? It was it was a gift collection. That's what it is. Like I said, offering gift collection. And for a lot of people, I've done good share of being on the receiving end, right, of those collections. So I was definitely down, right? Like, I'm down. And I all I had was, at the time, all I had was a bag of hot fries, with my stumbling self, and I now realize, like, that's what we gotta come back and give on that. We gotta give on that, and we gotta give on pillows. I had a really good friend who's had now since deceased, right? And we're given a good seat next to them. I was like, hey neighbor, what's up? And they just kind of had they kind of just had an aura of didn't didn't have a sense of where, what time, or who am I, right? They just kind of they were they were restless, yet at a standstill. And then after a chipper set of realizing, like, oh hey, how you doing, right? Like, we're outside. You know what I mean? I'm saying that even to self, right? To look into a reflection and go, hey, yeah, that's that you're outside. This is water. You're looking straight into it, right? Which let me cut into that reference, right? The reason why is it I think his name is Narcissus. I can't remember the action. Like, how you have what is his name? Like, I can't think of Adonis, right? Adonis is his own, but you have Narcissus, right? Like, when I say look upon and see the reflection of yourself, the reason why this character gets the rap that he does, and the reason why he comes about being an issue in a land of um, confusion, right? In a land of landmines. Like, I don't know about anybody else. I gotta end up going back now that I'm sitting here talking about it and talking aloud, and realizing where it's kind of leading and going. So be prepared for this roller coaster we're on now. We'll get back to the train of thought, that is. Um, when we have this in mind for this character, right? We have to recognize that this character suffered in the idea that he drowned for something that was new, stunning, and appealing, in which he had never seen before, right? And so it's not necessarily to say the healthy skepticism is to recognize that it is a reflection, right, and not one that you can consume. Because if you try to consume it in its entirety, it will destroy you. What am I? Oh, tis be water. And so we have water back here boiling up, right? And the reason why we're boiling it, because we're gonna have these weird these weird fascinations with using cheesecloth or some of these flour sacks to basically extract some out of this yellow sugar we got here. Yellow sugar, which is all made from something, of of a mulch. I have to say, that's what it feels like. It does have a consistency um, of a honey, so I think that's something that's very very cool to see naturally happen. But when it comes back to looking at uh, when it comes back to looking at how things mature through time, sometimes things mature into a wine, other times they just spoil, right? Not all grapes mature into wine, some just spoil. And so when it comes to being able to have a preservation of something good, right? Or having a preservation of something consistent like a lemonade, which is, the main thing right now is just a matter of, a consistent lemonade at rate. At rate and at effort. Because everything else is just gonna be a a lever, right? A lever that you gotta change, adjust, or make do about. Just make do about. So give me 1 second while we not re-prep, but we reset what we got going on here. Because some things I actually got down, like I said, I was able to get earlier today. Was looking through my library or my bookmarks, not necessarily my library, as I clean up. I'm really trying, like, spring cleaning, tragic spring cleaning is still in full effect. It's just very much something that I have to do a speed run in the last days, right? The last days to make it happen. And speaking of make it happen, congratulations to my uncle for winning the count of how many lemons were in here. There were 158 lemons that we're going to be dealing with today. So 158 lemons. We played the, how you say, you kind of look at a container and think to yourself, how many are in there. Him and my baby brother both submitted in a way. We can adjust this. We don't have to work with things that are broken. Hold on, let's get this arm right. Hopefully, hopefully that music not too loud in the background. So, okay. We have the technology. Give me 1 second. Crooked letter. Crooked letter I. Okay. Oh. You know what? I'm not even sure how that would format, but I'm sure it would format in a way that's not not kosher, right? Here, hold on. We still got a joint that's made loose, huh? I remember having someone explain that to me for a vehicle repair, as far as being able to say, like, "Hey, doc, my fingers kind of hurting me, right?" Doc looks at him and says, "Dude, your entire shoulder is blown out. Like, worrying about the finger, worrying about the finger is far from your concerns right now." You know what I mean? Like that finger is not gonna mean much if we don't get the shoulder fixed. So that's what we're doing now. So adjusting this swing arm that has some elbows, or some rotating qualities here. Just a tripod. I was laughing. I saw someone the other day. I was like, I think they probably spend more on tripods as far as an operation. I said they probably spend more on tripods. Um, Hold on, righty tighty, lefty loosey. More on tripods than some people spend in say gas a year. You know what I mean? Okay, I think we're good on that. I have that tendency. There's a measuring line, right? The level. My baby's on a level. There we go. She's always on my mind. The Raconteurs. The level is always that song that gets me for it. Guessing all the time. Okay. So now we get to go to the contraptions, right? The fun part in contraptions. We There we go. So this is already one lemon, right? That's the other thing too. I will say I like the nature that it's centered. Right, it's not a left-handed, right-handed thing. It's just a press it thing. I may not even have to press down. Right, may not even have to press down on that particular lemon. Yeah, I don't even have to do that if I have to save a step of grief. Right, which reminded me, I got a funny kick. I'm still updating, or I'm still watching. Not updating, but I'm still updating my recollection, right, or having a recollection for Drawn Together. It was a TV show back in, I think, early 2000s, maybe even mid 2000s. I can't remember, but I do know I was a kid while it was a Comedy Central show. So you gotta, like, I had to wait all this time, right? Wait all this time to see it. Um, you want to talk about the first essences of hacking something? Yes, parental controls, man. First essence of hacking stuff. Like, you want to talk about challenge accepted? Growing up, challenge accepted. But anywho, where did I leave off on this? Oh, but pillows. We're gonna get off this roller coaster. We just jumped off the top peak of another subject, but we'll get there. I want to go back to the matter of offerings, right? Contributions and offerings. That just kind of make me, like I said, remind me to think that pillows and hot fries and comforts, right? These are things that come about in our life that make us kind of look upon and say, what is something that I need, and if you have everything that you need, because you do get everything that you need when you need what you need to do, right? If you do what you need to do, and like I said, if you need what you need to do, because there gets a point where when you don't need what you need to do, which is the delusion, right, that you don't have to get things done, or that things are not are moving in a direction that are productive, right? If you don't have a need to do, then you need to fix that. Your priorities are out of whack, right? As far as the basics of whatever needs you have, right? And everyone has similar needs, right? And everyone's hierarchy or prioritization of those needs looks different depending on whatever model or thought process you want to use for it. But as far as being able to think, this would be kind of cool. Like I said, I have a beloved friend who was in this state and offered to me that, if anything they want for the holidays, anything they had wanted for Christmas, anything that they had wanted for their birthday, what would it be, gift wise? That's just kind of gag and sense, but completely honest. And their answer was pillows, right? All different types of pillows, and I can only imagine right now that the only place that I could find like a pillow store would probably be, because I mean, like, how many variations of pillows can you really truly have? But I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, right? Because when you start going down that rabbit hole, I don't think people come back, right? Because you fall asleep. It's a pillow rabbit hole. Why would you ever follow that and think that you're not gonna fall back asleep? Because it's a trap. That doggone pillow is a trap. It's not a trap. And you want to hear the best part about that is I have never seen that movie, but I've heard that reference. I've seen that reference. I need to sit down and actually watch that movie because I maybe contextually it would make so much more sense, but I feel like it's pretty obvious, right? So that's what that goes back into things being written and said. I know one thing. I know I can connect it on that domino effect because I did write down John Williams, which is just one of those things. But he's 92 years old, Joe. John Williams, 92 years old, and the reason why he had came about, right? We're getting off on the next station. Come with me. We've been juicing for a minute, and we're switching gears. You ready? Let's go. John Williams is the composer, right, for works such as Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter. What else did he do? Did he do? He did uh, Inception, I think. He did Dark Knight. He did a lot of different works that you are very, very familiar with or you've heard in passing. So, uh, or in commonplace. I was laughing because I was thinking about the dun dun of Law and Order, right? you ever get the chance, I would say look up Mike Post. Right, Mike Post is the composer for the Law and Order franchise. Um, and he's done. He'll tell you. Just go watch it. Go watch it because it's one of those things that you wouldn't think. But he has one of the most popular sounds. You know, the same as far as like Kim Possible, as far as like doop doop doo doop. You know, if you are familiar with that particular sound or you know that particular tone, then it's synonymous, right? It's almost its own matter. But yeah, but 92 years old. I wonder how he's doing. And I'm saying that as far as in general respect of some of his works, or you know what came about the uh the longevity of his career. You know what walks away with being the moniker. Because you know, and I'm not saying that that's what he cares about, right? That's just curiosity, having a conversation with the cat, right? Why would curiosity ever want to kill the cat? Satisfaction, satisfaction. That. That's why we are here talking to the cat, right? And you might be asking, you know, what cat? And it's like, wait, how did we get into a road of cats? Listen, Cat in the Hat, right? Curiosity. I'm here to talk curiosity with this cat. Which cat? The Cat in the Hat. And, you know, and it's one of those things where if someone didn't know any better, right, without the reference, because I would say we. When I say we, I'm talking about the audience in which I'm talking to, and usually, I'm telling you, the audience is a very healthy self, or you know, a very healthy committee of me, myself, and I. You know, Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is synonymous with certain things, and that's the that's the basis of you know to think that it's the curiosity of such, right? You don't even bother with the curiosity of someone having to explain or say or think Cat in the Hat. The character in itself is universal. So then it comes into curiosity as to what character that is. And sometimes, you know, was a Cat in the Hat mischievous? Was the Cat in the Hat, you know, a point of devastation? Or was the Cat in the Hat a friend? This, that, and the other. Of course, the Cat in the Hat is not a voice of reason, right? When it comes down to the difference between the Cat in the Hat being the roller coaster and the dear fish being the train, you know, we don't have to sit on that train too long. It's a fish train. Of course, it smells. Okay, so we got a couple things here, right? We have a couple of developments that we realize as far as being able to do certain things or have this be a process that we use. We definitely do collect all this down here, and I already know what we're gonna do, right? Especially if I'm not sure if I started going down the rabbit hole of and rabbit hole, y'all, for anyone who is now just tuning in to what that means or doesn't mean or what it implies. A train of thought, right? A breadcrumb of information that you say, hey, what would you do, or not what would you do, or what about this? And so you start with a search, right? And then at the next point of having an unknown, right? Because you're gonna read things you already kind of know or you don't know. You're gonna go through a KWL, right? What I know, what I want to know, and what I'm trying to learn. So you're gonna go through this process depending on the stamina, right, and the energy and attention, and quite frankly, passion and want to know, right? And I'm someone who you know, get me on the right day, I'll be the horse who gets the carrot, right? I will be that horse. But in the sense of this particular one, I wasn't entirely sure the working operational difference between a jelly, a jam, or a marmalade. I ended up getting this what's the word I'm looking for? Short guide or Brady Bunch set of squares that gave me what each one was, right? But I think this water's doing pretty well. I think the ice should be done. The ice had putting in, or the ice had been put in a few hours prior to the booger sugar here. Ugh, here we go. Can't give it away, but give it away I will. Sometimes that's why I be laughing too. You know what I mean? As far as even on help desk, they're like, did you really just sing kind of a whole monologue?" I'm like, "Yep, shut me off, so you're not, so I'm not in the air anymore." As far as being on hold with help desk, which sometimes, man, them times are getting better, but sometimes, oh, I've been looking for you. I've been looking for this Red Bull. It was in my pocket. I just like that. So, but yeah, when it comes to help desk, I was able to get one shift in last night of help desk hours. As a matter of fact, and today is Sunday, so I didn't um I see too of a bother since I was already awake and up and getting stuff done. Like I said, in this realm of process, but it was kind of cool to see. Like I said, someone's different experience in help desk. To think that we're right there, right there to help you through this thing. It's not necessarily a one done kind of Charlie act, right? Let's see. Excuse me. I'm asking myself. I'm over here at the boiling water station. Let's see if this is a clean getaway, right? Maybe, almost. The effort was good. It was a try. Just get it next time, right? And I think that's the other awesome part as far as angling goes. But I have this cane sugar that both of these right now are both just boiling pots of water. Which now that I'm talking on it, or now that I'm thinking about it, I think I think I'm gonna add the smaller pot to the bigger pot, right? Smaller pot to the bigger pot, because then the bigger pot's gonna be a better reservoir of holding. Because I'll be able to scoop, like, you know what I mean, as far as some of these metal bowls and things, to be able to kind of see. Because of the part that can make this dangerous is, like I said, the boiling temperatures. But I wouldn't think, because we're not working with like flame, like flame. We're working with Pikachu, right? Now that I think about that, man, oh man, you know what? When you have really good friends who know better, right? And when I say know better, in the idea of getting you like riled up, like, as far as being a short tempered individual, or having a nature, right, a nature to short temper, wind stress for the most part. Like I said, you kind of you deal out of it. But one of my favorite ones I'll never forget is, there was the creation of something, that everybody was just like, okay, check this out. Like, there's no way. Like, she's just gonna have to find, like, she's, because at once upon a time I played, when I say technological hermit, it was really cool, and it might be time again, right, for a not necessarily a technological hermit, but a technological, what's the word I'm looking for? It might be a rebuilding, because that's what it was. I was starting to move on, like I was starting to move from personal spaces into enterprise spaces, right? As far as serving side, and so when you start having that serving side, you have a level of security that kind of makes it nifty to go back and say, "Ha, you know, take that." And I'm saying that as far as parental controls. I'm still thinking upon, do I want to throw the sugar in here? Because once we throw the sugar in here, that's when stuff gets dangerous, right? A boiling pot of water, I can turn my back on. Um, a boiling pot of sugar, not so much, right? Boiling pot of water, it's okay. Boiling pot of milk, it'll tell me before it catch on fire. As far as the smell, you'll smell it. Um, yeah, oil and butter and sugar. Don't turn your back on those. they they have the tendency to short temper, right, and cause for a tragic accident. I'll tell you right now, if I had a dime for every time I've had to throw a frying pan on fire out into a pitch of snow, I'd have one dime. But I'm saying, I totally get it. As a matter of fact, I need to. I think I have it out on the grill side, right? my fire extinguisher. But that's one of those things too that PSA, if you haven't updated your safety protocols, right, or you haven't updated your fire code within your home, right, for your business, take that up with the marshal because the marshal's going to be the one who's your mama. But as far as getting your home in order, right, how's it go? Get your house in order. Get your house in order. And and I'm saying that to say that's a call out. It's definitely self. I'm talking to you. I know y'all done. I know. Like I'm saying, I'm someone who lose attention. But like when I go back and look at this as a cartoon fashion, right? I already know. Come back, get your house in order. For you say thank you for keeping me. And them hands, right? Them hands from tying my boots together. Thank you for keeping me. And from them hands from tying my boots together. Because that's when they got me tripping, right? That's when they got me tripping. And you can't be doing that. I remember that being a concept as far as, this is why we do this, and this is why we have this mentality, or this is why you gotta be able to get them boots on quick, man. And the thing is, when they're your boots, not just a pair of boots, but when they are your boots, you should be able to get your boots. I'm talking about like you can hike, or we're gonna go on Oregon Trail Junior, right? Which squirrel, follow me here, right? A friend of mine and I found out. So I wasn't sure if VAT, right? VAT, VAT, right? V as in Victor, A as in Alpha, T as in Tango, VAT. I was not sure if VAT was a volume or a shape. Come to find out, it is a volume, and it is 26.4 gallons. So I was like, huh. So a vat is just a marathon of liquid, right? Which would be kind of cool in the sense of thinking, you fell in the vat, oh no! And, you fall in a vat of slime, it's like, dude, come on, that's a whole vat of pudding. You're fine, right? You're completely fine. Which now that I'm sitting here thinking aloud upon it and kind of looking at how this is working out, I wonder who the slime that had to be like that had to be someone in food service who had to make like the slime for the day for any type of like Nickelodeon park or theme park kind of idea. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh man, how many vats of slime do I gotta make today, boss? It's like, well, we got the all that crew, and guess who's there? And Nick at Night. We're looking at about seven vats of slime. Who got the time for 7 vats of slime? I got the time for 7 vats of slime. That's why I'm here. You know what I mean? As far as like just a slime maker, and then having to go to probably the next door over, right? And be like, so it says here that you spent 7 years making slime, and and it's like, wait, you think that sounds as simple as it is? Tis it is not. Slime. There is an art to slime. There's an art to slime. But I will say, when it comes to boundaries, that's the way. When it comes to boundaries, I never test the boundary as far as being. Shout out to the village, right? Of us out here who are loving, right, and seeing other families grow. When it comes to slime, as far as gifting, and offering, like at one point I was like, oh, I'll put slime in there because that's something that, again, you don't need it, right? It's totally obnoxious in the want, right, in the want sake, but it has its purposes, right? And I'm saying that as far as a textual need or something that I can see being therapeutic in way, but nonetheless, I remember that being the case, and that one right there, I already kind of knew. You know how there are just certain non-negotiables with people, right? That if you cross that line, right? If you juice that lemon, you're gonna have to drink that lemonade. You know what I mean? Like do not cross that line with people. I have quite a list of names on that list of slime, right? If that is the line, that is the line. Cause ain't nobody got that time for no No slime. No slime. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna look that up. How many gallons of slime that had to be probably made in a day for that? Because like I said, I got all these different notes that I looked up too. You know what I did learn today though? Because like I said, so my uncle won the count for this lemon thing, and it made me have to learn something new as far as software or learning how to give. And I'm saying that as far as just different methods and means and surprises, and from the sky, right? Instead of death from above, it's life from above. Like I can only imagine as someone, you're sitting there as far as the technology and space have gotten to the point where someone's just walking, and a little drone comes out and it's like, hey man, boop, and it's like, wait, what's this? And it's like, it's just for you, just out the sky. You know what I mean? Just came out the air. That's why I love those tropes in comedy series, right? In comedy series of stuff falling out the sky. It's like, ah, but it's something good, right? But usually, right, the ones who can drop out of the thin air like that, straight out the sky, have practiced many, many, many times. So, like I said, which is one reason why, when it comes to roller coasters, the only good roller coaster, right, a roller coaster that is successful 9 out of 10 times is not a good roller coaster. It's a very poor roller coaster. What do you mean 9 out of 10 times? So you're just gonna call this roller coaster Russian roulette? That's what we have here. Okay. No, no one got time for that, boo boo. Right? As far as a roller coaster that does not sound, or have the engineering sound, or have someone being of concern. Like, if my whole thing is like, if the roller coaster engineer that day, we'll call him Rodney. If he's the roller coaster engineer that day, on staff, and Ronnie comes in, he doesn't feel good. I'm telling you right now, if I was the amusement park manager, I'd be like, nope, what we gonna do right here is send you home for you to get it together, however long it takes for you to get it together, because I do not need my roller coaster engineer to be unhappy. I need this roller coaster to be a good roller coaster, and a good roller coaster is not 9 out of 10. But it's been a while since, like I said, I've aged out of roller coasters, but it kind of, like I said, put me down to realizing, you just kind of change the thrill, right? You change the ride of what you're doing. We're sitting here watching water boil and talking out, but and I'm kind of seeing how it's going down, how hot it is. As far as all about observation of it all. But anywho, Blockbuster. I didn't realize I want to have to go and confirm this as a fact or not. But I'm not. I didn't realize that Blockbuster was the creation or modern creation of the gift card, right? Like, as far as like saying, oh, here's a gift card for you as a sense of token, right? Which I get the gift card pro and con, right? Or for or against. I totally get it from a business perspective, and also from a perspective. I get it from both perspectives. Like I said, when it comes to having scales, I only have a couple of right? Slime lines. Like, I only have a couple of slime lines. Like, what's this slime line? Well, it's an ambiguous barrier, but you know what it is. Don't touch it, right? Lava. I only have a certain set of slime lines that I just kind of like. My position is very distinct, right? Everything else kind of, for the most part, like, how you not see the gray, right? How you not see that gray? Oh, because it was shade 51. That's why it was the weird one out. Great, you know what I mean? I great. Let's see. But yeah, Blockbuster. I'm like I said, having had that small count contest, Blockbuster came about my feed, or I ended up learning that in passing. This stuff here, lemon juice. That's just lemon juice. I have had my share of lemon juice, but let's put that in the dog bowl here. The dog bowl can always get stuff mixed back in it. Get the measuring glass here. Now, this already had sugar in it. But now, like I said, I don't want to turn my back, right? I don't want to turn my back on melting sugar. So I think we have the solution. We have the solution. We do not have to go without knowledge. We have it. Here we go. Hope everybody out there is having a good time. Like I said, I've definitely found myself in a state of summertime. But I think it's just because hibernation seems so long. Like winter hibernation was a real one this go around as far as like real and heavy, right? The heavy of holiday. But we've been able to spring clean out, right? Spring clean out the just the seasonals of being. Gotta love it. You know what I mean? You gotta love it. Because if you don't love it, you will lose it. If you don't love it, you will lose it. And guess what? You will not understand what you've lost until it is too late. So love it. Don't lose it. Because it can be too late. like it can be too late. You know, for the most part, everything is pretty chill and even, right? But when late is late is late is late is late, be late. It's too late. I said it's too late. It's too late. Okay. I lost my train, my that second train of thought. Right, we're going back on this roller coaster. I'm not sure if they have, and this was I saw this. So there's a rabbit squirrel over there. As I'm sitting here thinking, but not thinking aloud until now, is I wonder if Disneyland has. I'm sure they do. They have to have an Alice in Wonderland roller coaster or amusement ride, right? Because I wonder what like what is the difference? Like we're talking about the consistency of roller coaster, because like what if your roller coaster has like a couple of like hills, right? What if your roller coaster have a how far can that turn? How far can that turn go before you're like stop? Maybe it's the harnessing, or maybe it's the upside down, right? That might be it's the upside down that makes a roller coaster a roller coaster, but that's not true, right? That can't that oh see now we're gonna go down this roller coaster adventure of such as far as things that make me go and like I said, these people are out there and they're retired. I the long story getting short, I ended up being in a transaction with a interesting guy who was the once upon a time the horticulturist for Disney parades, right? And when it comes down to someone that I thought, you would think that he was just a flower, like, oh, he's just a guy that likes flowers. No, this is the flower guy. You know what I mean? Like, no, this yeah, he showed me different photos and things. I mean, he was the landscape flower. He was a flower guy. Not necessarily the landscape back then, but but for the floats and for the attractions and things like that. But like I said, with pictures to boot, I said, oh wow, the things and people you run into. Like I said, loving it before you lose it, and you can't lose it because it's never too late, right? And you can't lose it because it's never too late. And you know why it's never too late, and you'll never lose it because it's love. Love does not lose, and love is never late. Love is always on time. Love always wins, right? So like I said, if you stay loving it, there's no loss. There's no late. There's only these tragic stories of running into the horticulturist from Disneyland, right? And no, it's not a horror story. I'm just saying, as far as it's just a story in which that's part of my tragic story. What's part of my tragic story right now? I totally did lose, like I said, a train of thought. The thing, are we on a roller coaster or a train of thought right now? But right now, I think we are on a train of thought. So I have. I'm just gonna go ahead and call this booger sugar for what it is. I'm sure it's just a syrup or some, I'm sure because it has a syrup consistency. Need somebody to love. That's what the song is playing in the back. I love um, remix stylings of house music and different things like that. So this particular, I think it's called. I think the artist's name is Sicko with like two K's or six Sicko or something like that. I'm saying, everyone has their brand. If they want to stay on brand, be it. But they, like I said, they have some really good vibe Like I said, I have to put a link out to that along with the mic post. Some of these links on here, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's definitely one to share. Man, oh man. Ooh, speaking of, yeah, we do need the safety gloves. So check this out. Did anyone know the just as a whole change of topic, the NCAA mission? This is something I had to write down because I had to look it up because it was interesting to see the different. I have to look up what it's called or research or resurface what it's called. Give me a second to think about this though for a second because I do have to do one moment. So these are made in India. I actually have a tidbit about India too. India is the greatest producer according to the CIA fact book. India is the greatest producer of mangoes. And so that kind of went down into another rabbit hole that I'll get into. It's part of it because it's people, right? It's the person, it's the person of all. Okay, so these are 100% cotton. So to make sure, I had to make sure from the packaging. I was like, yeah, we gotta make entirely sure because I don't want to find myself, with gold and it's not glittering. Okay, I had. There you are. I was like, I had a Collinger, Collinger or strainer, but I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna do this. Right? We're gonna figure out how we're gonna do this. You gotta do the work. You know what? We're gonna take one for the team. And just assume, right? And guess what? If you make an ass out of yourself, well, would you rather be Donkey or Shrek? And at this point, I'll take being the ass. If this assumption doesn't work out. You know what I mean? This assumption doesn't work out. Like I said, so if people in their own sake, like, what is this for? What else is there in way of to not enjoy a nice glass of lemonade? That's what we were doing. So while that's washing out, we didn't want to turn our back, but it looks like our backs are now, or our faces are now over here. So we don't have to think that we're gonna get that washed out. We don't have to think that we can't. Here you are. Come here. Got that sugar on my tongue. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. See, look at there. Common sense wins again. Because I sure was gonna just go pop, but it's one of those things of like when you see something, you know, see something, say something, and if you're the one, you got to be the one that does something. That's what makes you the one. That's what makes you the one because you're the one who does something. So that one was, like I said, for me was a yay. We'll let that marinate in its own thoughts for a second. Because I know it has to be equal parts, right? Everyone's pretty consistent on the interwebs that it's equal parts sugar and equal parts water when going about this. Yo, Vanilla Ice, you're needed backstage. Ice, ice, baby. Bam, 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 bam. Which you want to talk about pettiness? Like I said, going back to the way, way back, where I'm sitting here looking at these hot fries in the corner of my eye. To bring back, can you counterfeit snacks? I'm sure there's definitely a counterfeit snack bus, right? And especially, like I said, when it comes down to things tasting a certain way, and the difference of one over the other being the dosage or the serving size, right? Because now we just love going into connotation. which, like I said, I'm not sure if I've. No, I'm pretty sure I haven't. I'll publicize at another point, but that's kind of where that's kind of where I find myself, right? An understanding of this adventure. And you're like, what adventure? The adventure of making lemonade? Yeah. And again, it's the passing of things that make me go, hmm. Speaking of though, where did we leave off? Oh, NCAA mission, right? If you're now just tuning in, or I want to have a refresher course on MVV, which is mission, vision, and values, or mission, values, and vision. I'm not sure of the order of the two V's, and I'm sure they do make a significant difference in the difference of the two. But the mission, right? Mission statement, mission value, or the driven purpose of the NCAA, because I haven't really gotten into it, but it's coming around my feeds. And when I say it's coming around my feeds, it comes, like I said, when it comes to the internet and how the internet works, and being back into a state of on digital, digital scaping, you have to look at what is being driven in front of you, right? Because that's kind of the reason it's there, is to save you time, when it's ethical, and manipulate you when it's unethical, right? So, and I'm saying that as far as the bad connotation of that, because not every puppet master is wishing to ruin their puppet, right? Right? You just happen to hear of Pinocchio being the only puppet who wished to be a real boy. You know what I mean? Like, there was other puppets who were like, "Yo, I am happy right here. These strings are attached. These string, and like I said, it's a matter of understanding what level of trust you come, right? To either be the one without a puppet or the puppet without a puppeteer." But anyway, I go off the rails of this train ride real quick to say I've come across the recent phenomenon that they are labeling as the Caitlin Clark effect, right? And this is where it kind of started going. I'm in to see that I want to see, or I want to look up, or I'm going to find out, right? Oh, I'm going to find out if it levels, right? Because these are some of the things that you go into sports management. I peep out sports management for short seconds, only in ways to say, like, okay, so how does this level of art, right? This level of art and entertainment help in a world that needs love, right? But the mission, right? The NCAA mission is to provide world. I don't know why I have A in here, but provide world class athletics and academic experience for student athletes that fosters lifelong well being. I think, because being lifelong being doesn't. I might have transposed this into a shorthand, but I think it's, yeah, provide world class athletes and academic experience for student athletes that foster lifelong well being. Or like I said, we can confirm it later. And I think I might have shorthanded this, or I might have written this in the dark, because anyway, that chicken scratch can be right. I'm not gonna fight it anymore. But hmm, interesting, right? Interesting. And how long, and how much, and how soon is it going to change with this effect? Or kind of the questions, right? Or kind of some of the critical nature questions that I have um to wonder, right? How this is going to play out in a long stand, not necessarily a wave, because that's the thing. Some waves don't wave back, right? Some waves don't wave back, and it's okay to realize that I did not measure any of that sugar going in there. It's not okay. Hold on, I just had a doofus moment, right? To realize that I did not measure. I just went with it, right? Maybe I was just thirsty for some lemonade. Let's see if we can. If this is. Let's see if this process is even, like, entirely feasible to understanding and recognizing what we got going on here. Because I think this sugar is well dissolved. These pots got a good boil. I'm okay with the smaller backside being the case, and I'm saying that from a positional point, because then now I can just you have it like this, or the design of it, the fire stays maintained over here, you know, over here, and not all the way out there, or close to me for that matter. Got to hit the hood first. Man, oh man, if I had a dime for every time I had to throw out a frying pan on fire in a snowstorm, I would have one dime. Oh, so that is a nice color though. So let's see what we got here. We need. Oh, that's what we are trying to avoid the cleaning. We're trying to avoid the cleaning. You can't avoid the cleaning. All right, the cleaning is part of it, which is one reason why, like I said, I've come into a realizing that one of the most major lessons you can teach people in a process, or most thing you can teach, an individual, like I said, and everyone's different in their learning and teachings. I'm not sure, and this is a side note and sidetrack to say that if I'm not mistaken, Dollar General, once upon a time, it might honestly still be a value they hold true when we're talking about mission, vision, and values, and looking at how they affect, right, how they affect or how they build apart these effects in a fabric, right, whether it be sports for the NCAA and their mission, or for one of the values that Dollar General once upon a time, the DG, once upon a time would you if you didn't know how to read, they would teach you how to read, right? And like I said, I'm not sure if that's still a value that's held today, or if it's a matter of realizing like that's not something, to realize that that's not something of a need anymore. But I would be very curious to see what the average reading level of the world is. I can tell you right now, like when you see, like for me, I've seen my reading level go down. And I'm saying that as far as laziness. I'm gonna call it for what it is, laziness. And you have to be able to get those, like I said, reading muscles back up to recognize, right, what's being written versus what's being read, and um what's kind of being the thing that you have to process. Such as never turn your back on melting sugar. I think this is fine though. It's the same consistency. So I don't see too much of a burning side, but we have our jug here. Jughead. I don't know where Veronica went. Veronica's over here. Gravity is turned on. Okay, so we're gonna put this in here. Oh yeah, that's part of it, y'all. Make no mistake. We can move on to, let's see, we can move on to the next, next lily pad of thought. Cause I have, like I said, I have no cards all around here. Oh yeah, no, but speaking, so this cloth is from India, right? And India, like I said, I looked up a couple weeks ago, or I found out, right, as far as like today I learned that India, according to the CIA fact book, is the highest producer, or maybe a major producer of mangoes, right? So I did not know that, right? I didn't know that, but yeah, look at that go. See, now it's starting to bubble. So if it has that bubbling, then that's when you have to start watching it, because that's the air, right? That's the air that has that fire wanting to start. I'm sorry, because the bubble starts sticking and gets sticky because it's sugar, right? Like I get it, and that's the thing that stick inside. That's the other thing too. I want to kind of see if, like, if you start burning, these things, you can yeah, I'm not necessarily see the calorie work for it, but that's how I kind of see it, or that's how I learned it. When I go into a whole nother tangent topic, I know it can be frustrating at times. Just work with me here. They all connect, I promise. And if they don't, write me about it. And if you don't want to write me about it, you can go to USA.gov and complain. But they don't have a category for me, so tragic. I know. You see me on the news every day. Every day. It's okay. There's only so much I can do for it. But I had left off because the mangoes. Oh, that's what I want to say. So it's and like I said, oh, so when it comes to complaints, right? That's why I was kind of thinking. There you are, force of adaptation. I was like, so what would happen? Like, I don't know the entire, I don't know the entire nature, right? Or I don't recall the entire nature. We're gonna turn this down before I get too nervous, because I can definitely go and talk on and have like I said, a sticky mess that just makes me kind of go like, ugh, is that the way we wanted that? Like, I don't think so. Like what did Santor say? It's questionable to me. So, but like the potato famine, I don't know. I don't know what. I'm not sure if it was. I don't think it was a purposeful. I'm not sure, right? I'm not entirely sure of the historical nature. I just know that it took place and that it was something that happened. Hold on, now I'm getting excited. Hold that thought, or hold that potato, right? Because that potato wants all eyes on it, not me. Give me a second. Nope, not you. I need a measuring. I need a measuring stick or measuring that is going to allow me to be discriminate, right? Discriminate, but decent in what I'm trying to measure. Well, why don't you just use the measuring cup, Tragic? Because that would make life too simple, and that is not what we're trying to do today. What we're trying to do today is make life easy. And so sometimes when you do that, you find yourself with a hard comeback. Would have kept it simple, it would have stayed simple. Get it? Hey man, you didn't have to kiss me like that. You didn't have to kiss me like that. Like, what are you talking about? Keep it simple, stupid. You didn't have to kiss me like that. That's I know it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. I'm just saying, like, dang. There's more than one way you could have skinned that potato. If you're still holding it, we got something now. We're just gonna wing it, right? We're just gonna wing it. Cause we're meant to fly. We're just gonna scoop some of this in here. Because that's the other thing too. I'm not sure how concentrated. I have not tasted this, and I'm saying that to say sometimes I kind of just want to see the final product and then make adjustments as time goes on. Because the one thing that I do know is that it's not spoiled, right? Aha. So what we're gonna do? I see it now. I see it now because I don't want to strain out the sugar, right? I don't want to strain out the sugar here with my Jughead and my Veronica. That's the Archie of the situation. Or that's the arch, right? The arch that's going to have to, from one step to the next, because that's going to have to come off and come through. So, because this has a handle that's a little bit easier to navigate and dictate, I'm going to use it instead of the big pot, because Big Mama, sometimes she got to be handled with two hands. Maybe you don't give her two hands, foul, right? And there's no crying about it. But before we do that, we got to bring Vanilla Ice back to center stage. Dum boom 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 dum boom. David Boy. I know. That's its own inside joke of inside, right? Like I said, when you look back on your life and go through the maturity of the lemons you do get, or the lemonade that you have tried, and the lemonades that I don't know why I was complicating my life, but the lemonades that you do go about, we can actually save some of those. Let's do that so that I don't feel like we wasted all our ice in one age, right? I want to see a woolly mammoth and a Smilodon. Which, by the way, if you have not smiled today, this is your alert. This is your PSA. You need to smile, baby. Smile on, smile high, smile with you, smile back at you, right? What waves to you should wave back, because it should be the good energy you have. And I'm just saying, so if you have not smiled yet, or you're sitting there and your face is stuck, because mine does that too, smile. It's like, smile, even if it hurts to do so. You have to smile, because there does come a point that the muscles in your face are going to get stuck like that. I always thought that was a lie, right? I always thought that was one of those fables, as far as, like, went up the hill with one shoe, yada yada yada. As far as the tropes, right? Not necessarily stories, because you don't want to discount people's stories and experiences in their life, because only they can tell you those experiences. So when they tell you those experiences, you do need to listen. I'm talking about the tropes in which we come about having a shared understanding of these experiences, right? Which is why they're the trope. Jump with me. Don't make that face or it gets stuck like that. That's true. That is true. I have felt it as far as on a nervous level. On a nervous level, I'm like, get it, got it, good. And I was like, well, when you grow up with that face, you grow up with that face. I'm saying that is my face. Like, do you understand? Like, I don't look in a mirror at a rate. At a rate, right? I look in the mirror and I look in the mirror. I look at my reflection, but I don't look in the mirror at a rate that has me understand, right? That's what I'm saying. When it comes like the poker, I wear it straight on my face. So again, If you're not doing it now, do it with me. Just smile. Just smile. Like it's like it's one of those things that I remember. Like I said, having gone through the tribulations of what we got going, right? As far as the lemons we're packing on here and now. I used to work as a theme park, a theme park character, and head gear and all, right? Like total mascot. I'm definitely I am that cat in the hat. I was a mascot, and even when people wanted to take pictures with you, I was still be smiling. I'd be like, wait a minute, what are you doing, you dork? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, why are you smiling? How are you smiling in this costume? But you know why I'm smiling? I'm smiling because I'm out the house. I'm at a job that I can make my own ends, right? I'm saying as far as being, make my own ends to make my own decisions to do certain things, and this is what I got to do. Like, can't believe they're paying me to be here, right? And I mean, as far as like back then, now today you'd probably have to pay me 6 times as much, and I'm talking about on pond inflation, to do that. Just knowing the nature that I know now, right? Just again, you outgrow some roller coasters, and then that one I just happened to outgrow that roller coaster, but I didn't outgrow that memory of thinking like, I tried it. I tried it. I tried not smiling when people were like, okay, well, smile. When people are taking photos with you, and you're like, what a miserable feeling the thing that I'm not gonna smile, right? I'm just not gonna smile, which is why when people say smile, and there's that line, right? There's that line. So work accordingly to the conventions and people you are around because it was different audiences. But when someone says smile, sometimes when someone refuses to do so, you can almost, you know what I mean? Like you can almost see them using again those same more muscles. They're using more muscles to object to you telling them to smile than to just smile. Like, so they're using more muscles to frown, and it's so disappointing because some people some people do it to you on purpose. So I'm really trying to remind you, if you don't want to do it right now, that's fine. If you want to take yourself to the corner, well, baby, take yourself to the corner because you're the only one who can, right? No one puts baby in the corner. But if that's what you got to do to cry out your tears and finally put on a smile, smile on. Smile on, smile on. And what did we learn? Do not turn your back on sugar. But there it goes. I see it right here, crystallizing and whatnot. But like I said, since that's our Archie, have our Veronica here, I think what we're gonna do, we gotta bring in Ices in there. Like I said, I think we're just gonna play. I think we're gonna play Mad Scientist right now. I'm not mad. You're mad. That's that's that zest and sugar that sat for a few hours. If you're, you know, if you took a commercial break, because I know that's what I do all the time when it comes to these things, especially when they're hours long. I'm like, like, girl, put in a commercial. I'm like, dude, I know, right? But when it comes to commercials, me and commercials don't vibe. It's very distinct, very distinct. Like, let's just have some good set points. I might, like I said, I might throw up a picture here or two. Actually, get back into the editing seat. Like, I just never felt the need to have a whole editing session anymore. I've been there, done that, and left the pot on the stove. Let's put some water back in here so it gets back into production on time and in time, right? And for most part, like I said, you'll usually have it in batches and in vats, right? That are ready to go. And as far as being made day of, like I said, I need to look up the clinical, not clinical, but like the legal definitions. I still got some ice in there, so I feel okay to put in some of this hot sugar. Like I said, hot sugar can do a number to materials that are not prepared for that heat. Now, the one thing I didn't do is, oh, yes, I did. We'll figure it out. It's a space thing, right? Tragic in space. Okay. So we have a decent color. Like, I wouldn't call it I would call it, hmm, going back to Crayola, right? A whole aisle of Crayola crayons. I'm telling you, man, that 64 box have you really thinking, dang, there's that many shades of yellow? There's really that many shades of yellow? That, and like I said, going back, I don't know if I ever finished that Nintendo 64 thought from earlier as far as the juicer. There's a log cutting game. Like I said, you divide your party into two, like it's a party of four, right? You divide your party into two teams, and whoever you're with, you have one person who's waiting to chop it, right? And so the person who's first has to react to the what's being called up, right? And so whatever trigger point that is, sometimes it's A, sometimes it's B. We gotta make sure we didn't turn our back on sugar. Hold on. Not turn your back on sugar or oil. Don't turn your back on like I said, turning your back on boiling water is the person you have to worry about, not the water. But yeah, sugar, oil, grease. Which, by the way to take out a grease fire have different methods. One method being, like I said, if I had a dime for every time I had to throw out a frying pan on fire in the middle of a snowstorm, I would have one dime. Not recommended, but if that's what you got, that's what you got. Um, but for grease fires, make sure you have some flour handy, right? Some flour handy or some type of retardant that is not water. You don't want to put water on a grease fire because don't know if you know this or not, but oil and water don't mix, right? They just don't. And so what you're trying to exhaust and extinguish is just aspirating it, or is making it spread and scare away, and now you have all this hot grease everywhere, and people are screaming and saying tragic, tragic, and I'm like, wait, stop, don't freak out. Like it's we are prepared. We are prepared for this exact reason. The only reason why everyone is freaking out is because we didn't stage it and post it on the internet and make it look real so you guys could be rehearsed. That's what happens when it comes to emergencies, when it comes to disaster. It is going to happen out of the thin air. If a fortune cookie fell out of thin air and landed in your hand, how would you feel? Some people would be like, I would freak out and have to check the weather. It's raining fortune cookies, It's like, wait, yeah, come here, ball jars, man. I was invested in ball jars for a quick moment. I need to look and see where they are at in the midst of the NBA as far as Denver Nuggets because they have that ball court out here. Let's see what this looks like. All the ice is melted. It's still a little warm, so probably gotta can yeah. I'll leave that to myself. That's one of those things that you save around the campfire when all those ones that have fallen asleep on fire watch. Give me a second. Mm. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Does need some more water though. It's a little thicker than I would prefer. So let's see. You just add cold water. Get the water to be cold, have cold. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Now I do want to see though how far this zest concoction will go, because if the zest doesn't go that far, then that's where we're gonna have issues, right? For the what about a baseball? Yeah, about a baseball's worth of wax, about a cup and a half of juice from the lemons we did squeeze, right? Yeah, we did the math on that. It's not too bad. Mm. Sometimes, some days it's just a good day to make lemonade. Like, not every mission has the goal of extraction, transformation, or loading. You know what I mean? Not every single one. Some of them is purely for joyousness, just joyousness. Like, if you could, why wouldn't you? Right? Everybody was kung fu fighting. Let's see. I will say this: when it comes to who's Mikey in this, you know what I mean? As far as like, what's that? From the Chex commercials. I'm not even sure how old that actor, you know, what I mean, that actor would be now. But give it to Mikey. Mikey will like it. And it's like, what in the world? And they're like, oh yeah, Chex. It's like, well, good on you, Mikey. Mikey would definitely be the person I call to be like, okay, hey man, I need you to help me dog food and guinea pig this down. Yeah, no, I would definitely say the sweetness is there. The sweetness is there, but the water nature is not. So that probably gave me a spike of a level 4 out of 10, right? You know what I mean? Like if it showed up at camp, it'd be an awesome mixer, right? It'd be an awesome mixer, but it wouldn't be something that I'd be like, yeah, let's get some lemonade, which is a feeling, right? For me, that is a feeling. If anything, it might go good in another brew, or it might go good in another. Might go better, right? Better in another space. So I want that to heat up a little bit more. And now that it's more parts water than it is sugar, we're gonna leave that be. Want to try this? I'm looking for. There you are. Come here. So we add some more water, right? And I got a better yellow. I got at least a baby Tweety bird yellow. Trying to think, where else have I seen this yellow? And yes, I am saying yellow, not yellow, right? Because I'm getting to this character development point in some other writings, right, where this character is just he's just a yeller. He doesn't even like register, right? He doesn't even register that he's yelling in some regards, and that's just kind of the way he is. And for some people, I totally get that. Okay, so that's not sweet enough. Mm. It's getting there, so it needs. Let's try to add more zest. Let's see what that zest does. Mm. Because again, I'm trying to keep. Yeah, see, I can do that better than the first batch. But I'm trying to keep the sugar. I'm trying to keep the sugar reasonable, right? Like if the sugar becomes unreasonable, it kind of defeats the purpose, right? However, Murphy is always on the clock, and anything quote unquote in jest, right? Because it's not true, but it's funny to think that anything good in life is either immoral, unethical, or fattening, and somewhere along the way you gotta draw a moderation point, right? No slime line. It has to be a very strict boundary to recognize, like, that's too much sugar. that's too much sugar in one sitting of a share. For those following along and following through, once upon a time, salt and gold used to weigh the same. Once upon a time, salt and gold weighed the same. They were of the same value and of the same want and the same desire. Once upon a time. And see, that's why some of those, like I said, some of the goofies, and I'm saying as far as the goofinisms or the goofs, right, or the workings of a voice, only work when you speak. Like I was so happy I had a really good friend of mine. Actually, he's the one who sold me my cue. I need to actually go play some pool today. That might be what we need to do. Go to church. Oh, If you scared, go to church. If you a gutter, go to church. If it's a happy day, if you just want to, because you can, go to church. Go to church. And not a single person can stop you from doing that. Not here. And once it becomes that kind of thing, it's one of those. We've brought ourselves to a discussion, right? We've brought ourselves to a pass. Are you booted up? Are you booted up? Are you booted up? Because if you call those your boots, if those are your boots, I'm telling you right now, you might want to boot up. you might want to boot up. This here now is a discussion, and that's what it should be, right? It shouldn't be a blown out figure and tumble. So we're gonna add some more zest here. I did ramble off onto where I was going with that though, as far as looking at this. What do I call that? Tweety bird yellow? Yeah, it's not too bad. I will ask myself, is lemonade something I should be able to see through or not? So there's more than one way, right? There's more than one way to get this going. I think everything here is in steady. So maybe, just maybe, I don't have any more ice, or I do, but it's over there. I want this to melt. But there's sugar in here that I'm straining it out. Oop. I'm straining it out with oop. They're like, what happened? Nothing happened. All good. It looks like scrambled eggs from this view, right? Like, like it has a weird, definitely has a weird look to it. And things in production usually do. Once you start extracting and transforming and loading things into a final destination, things that make you kind of go, It's not too bad. Like I said, it's a matter of who had to wake up and make that slime pudding, right? I had one thing over here though, but that potato famine. Oh, but that's what I was trying to say as far as thinking about those cheesecloths and things like that, bouncing from one topic to the other. When it comes to the destruction of crops, like I had to look up. I learned that from an online source about India being the highest producer of mangoes, and I also had to look up today as far as who's the highest producer of cherries. And it turns out America, the United States of America, and Turkey. Turkey is the highest producer of cherries, and I did not know that. That always kind of things that make me kind of go like, huh. Would it be fair to think? Would it be fair to think that you can then replicate the environment, right? Like, so if you were able to produce in a way that makes you, quote unquote, the greatest producer, right? Whether it be in volume, quality, or whatever criteria it be, could you just replicate that particular environment and make it settle? Man, oh man. You know what? Remember when I said? Remember when I said? Remember when I said? There are days I wake up and say, I want some lemonade. Might not have that day for another week, right? And I'm doing all this different testing. Okay, that made it tilter to the tartar side. Mm. So that made it tilter to the salter side. So if I was to do this, right? If I was to look at two quarts, 2 quarts of product here, right? It is more than 2 quarts. It's almost 3 quarts, right? But if I take this same sugar, let's see. Do I want to take the? It's warm enough. It's warm enough. So I'm gonna take this cane sugar, and I'm gonna use the same point of measurement that they use for your kind of like ready mix lemonade, which I know is gonna have a different outcome, right? But if I measure that same ready mix, right, to mix 2 quarts of lemonade if I did that in this same thing, or that same thing, but this Pyrex measuring, part of the reason why a lot of things can't get done, or a lot of things have trouble getting done, or a lot of things take a lot of time for a committee to actually come in completion is measuring tools. If you look and see on a measuring tape, some measuring tapes are literally, you could put a pack, if you bought a pack of measuring tape from any of your tool shops, okay, or buy 3 different brands, and you measure something, you might not come out with the same measurements. So the first things first is having tools that are consistent, right? Having tools that are accurate, having tools that are valid. And if all your tools are different or all your measurings are different, you're not going to get the same outcome. So while this may say like, oh, you just put 2 quarts of sugar in there, that's when the misunderstandings come about, and it's like, oh, I thought you said six. Six what? 6 vats. 6 vats. I said 6 cups, and 6 vats and 6 cups are 2 entirely different outcomes, right? Just a rant, a shorthand rant on measuring and why things have trouble getting done because people measure different things, right? Because different things are of different values to people, right? And so then you have to look back and say, wait a minute, if we're not sharing a mission and we're not sharing a value, because my measuring tape is all crinked up from your measuring tape, feeling like it was the tape, right? So we don't share a vision, we don't share values, or excuse me, we don't share a mission, we don't share values. Do we actually share a vision, right? You have to get down to like just even have that last leg, right? The last leg of understanding of like, do you envision how I envision, or do can we at least, are we spending time trying to argue and defend a vision, or are we arguing or excuse me, not arguing, but are we arguing um about how to spend upon that vision, or are we sharing time and finding how to shape it, right? Because there's clarity, right? You gotta mold and build something into that. And so that's why I'm saying when it comes to this lemonade, for me, I I can totally see I can totally see my mind changing next week, right? And I'm saying that as far as the feeling. Yeah, come here, ice, and come here, sugar, right? So if we do that, back to sugar. Sugar's still good, simmering. So that, like I said, for that store bought ready mix kind of stuff, right? Your regular grocery store or your Americanized grocery store comes out to 4 ounces, or half of a cup. So half of a cup. We're gonna add to that particular batch here. Put that ice back in there, and we're gonna just stir it up because it did become more tart in that regard. So I'm curious. Maybe we just need to use the rest. You know what? We're gonna bounce uh too many levers at a time, right? When you bounce too many levers at a time, it creates noise. Like I said, now we're just playing mad scientist. You know, let the baby play in the mud. It'll be fine. A little dirt don't hurt. God, God made dirt. Dirt don't hurt. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. When it needs to be clean, I promise, I promise, I promise. When it needs to be clean, it will be the cleanest thing you ever done seen. But right now, the dirt will not hurt. It's a matter of trying to figure it out, right? A matter of trying to figure it out. But yeah, if someone was like, oh, my great great grandmother Nedi, if great great grandmother Nedi eats a cherry pie every Sunday, 3:16 on the dot. She needs that cherry pie. If she don't take that cherry pie, she'll give me a hell that only God can save me from. I need to get this cherry pie to her, because if she don't get this cherry pie as a 93-year-old woman that she is, I'm telling you right now, she will call up John Williams himself and make a whole song of the tragedy that will be in my ear, in my life, and in my soul if she don't get this cherry pie. Are you seeing how much I need this pie? But then if someone was like, "Oh, well, we are so sorry, yo, great great grandmother Nedi, she just gonna have to go," you know, Like as far as like I should just have like a thing of confetti as far as go kick rocks, because I already told you that the biggest producer, that we've lost relations with the biggest producer, and I'm being facetious in this particular skit, but I'm just saying, like, what would happen, right? Same thing like the potato famine. Like, I don't know what the entire entirety of the potato famine and how it affected, like I said, the management of things and the source of it. Like, we have a great reset, right? Which I think this is going to be a very, very big taste bud reset, because it's starting to get to that point that I see what I'm wanting. It's getting there. I can feel it, right? I can feel it now as far as the mad scientist at all. I'm letting this kind of melt through and out. But, if America didn't have cherries and Turkey didn't have cherries, right? How is great great grandmother Nedi going to get her cherry pie, right? Sweet cherry pie. I don't know. I don't know. I would have to go on this adventure to find out, because what's happening if you that's the last cherry we're gonna have for 300 years or whatever, right? And I'm saying, as far as someone just woke up one day and was like, you know what, I'm tired of cherries, or cherries. While your great great grandmother Nettie loves cherries, my great great neighbor of the uncle of the cousin that my mother used to know, who lived down the street, died from a cherry pit because he choked one day, and I wanted to destroy all cherries because that's the way I want to see the world burn, right? How tragic. Tragic day that all the cherries are gone. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Turkey and the United States are the ones who have cherries. Like, come on, y'all. Like, I don't even think that's like I said, globally like acceptable. You know what I mean? Like, if someone said we've never seen, like, I'm sure someone is out there searching for that fruit, and if they were walked around with that single fruit in their hand and thought to themselves, "This is the wild berry. I am the only one with this wild berry. I promise you, it's getting planted." That's just the way. That's the way. That's the way I would see it working. But maybe, maybe that's just me, or maybe the frame. Like I said, every time I have a Twitch, it's just a matter of, like, am I framing this in the right shape? Right? Is it 3D or is it 2 dimensional? Because if it's 3D, I can tell you right now, that looks fine by me. If it's 2D, then show me why. Show me the exit of my ways and why it's okay, and we will get to the center point of action, right? And however we get to that center point of action on this Cartesian plane, right? I'm going to ask myself, and I'm going to look to you, and I say, okay, so you friend or foe within this Senate, and I'll look to you and say, it too, Brute. We did all of that, right? We broke this all the way down from a 4D object. If we had to start on a nice level, we broke this thing all the way down from a 4D object to a 3D object to a 2D object, and you still stabbed me in the back. That's the only point that is going to be mattered in the examples and the reasonings of why. So remember, when we start having these conversations of issue, right? Because now we have an issue, right? Now we got to fight. Remember, I was telling you yesterday about the idea of someone being like, "Oh yeah, I'm a beef farmer. I just start beef." Well, then now you have this beef, right? You got this beef with someone, or someone has this beef with cherries, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. And so then they go off and destroy all the cherries, and it's like like history. I need to go look and see if there was, because I know we've had, like the Boston Tea Party. I know we've had the Whiskey Wars, which, by the way, I am definitely excited to read that book. I have all these other books I need to actually get down into reading, but we're getting our reading level up, right? We're getting our reading level up, so it's okay to be excited about a book list. One thing on my book list I end up seeing during daytime TV. I'm not a real big daytime TV person, but when I actually do get to watch daytime TV, whether it be sitting and waiting and getting irritated at the doctor's office or the dentist's office, right? Sitting and waiting at the DMV, sitting and waiting. I'm a very patient individual, but when it comes to the waiting, I definitely get the I definitely have to improve my marks on the hurry up and wait aspects of some places, right? Because it would conquer on my nerves, you know. But nonetheless, that's my opportunity to practice patience with it. I will have in my practice. Uh, there's a book, right, of Jack Daniels. I'm a fan of Jack Daniels. Again, if you're now just tuning in to this tragic comedy, right? Jack Daniels and I have had adventures that span well beyond the years of one's hair down to ass, right? Which is a lifetime, right? To one's back. I don't think your horse wants his hair on the back of him. Like he'd be like, what is that? So, which another story for another day about that horse. He was there when I threw that frying pan out into the snow. Another day, another time. I'm trying to give myself some time to think about this sugar melting. I got a good pulp, so the pulps are looking pretty good. That like I never really been a big pulp person, or a pulpery. I never been a big pulp. Uh, the voices that come about it, I'm like, that's what you came up with way back there, or who wrote this? No, stand up. Who wrote this? Because it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Like that's all you had to do was just come in and perform it. And I'm saying as far as any type of digital media or any type of things that stand up as far as reading something aloud or having an impromptu, because I've had that happen. Like I said, who wrote this? Just no, stand up for it. And I've had to be the person who had to stand up for some stuff and be like, I did write that. And it's like, well, why would you ever write that? And I said, because that's what happened. And then it gets interesting, right? Either you're gonna choke on the pit of a cherry, or you're gonna be the one who has to get that pie for great great grandmother Nedi. I'm telling you, one of them, one of the two, one of the two. Are they both wrong? Are you gonna ask great great grandmother Nedi to change her mind? It, how do you pay for the pit that got stuck? How do you pay for the pit that got stuck? If I have to pay for the pit that got stuck, I might as well be stuck in the pit. I might as well be stuck in the pit. I'm just saying, at that rate, stuck in the pit and waiting till the song go. That's why I will say this much. Roller coasters, I think I have settled down on. And looking back in the day, I could be in a mosh pit and it'd be fun. Right? Put me in a mosh pit now. No, someone getting hurt, and someone's gonna be me. It's always gonna be you. You know what I mean? Like when you walk into a room and think someone getting hurt today, the only person who's gonna get hurt when you walk into a room trying to hurt people is you. That's the only person who's gonna get hurt. And I'm saying that as far as the nature and element of intent, right? Oh man. Like what would be the equivalent of mosh pitting today, I would probably think. Like as far as crowds go and crowding, right? Like active crowding of like, yeah, and not just want to kind of just be like, I'm good on all of that. It would definitely have to depend. I'm not sure, and there's probably two bands. There's two bands I would definitely do that for still today, but I'd definitely probably be on the outside. I'd be like, I'm just gonna turn myself this way. Yep. But I know the songs though too. Ever been to a mosh pit or a punk show and don't know how long the actual don't know how long the song is, don't know the song, but you're here, right? You dove in here because it's a dive bar and it's time to go. If Tragic had a dime, it would definitely be more than one for this particular scenario. You know, into the crowd. Like that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Watch the Mohawk. Watch the Mohawk. I'm telling you, man. People. The ones in the past, they're the ones that wave to the ones in the future. So now it's a matter of will the ones in the future wave back? And guess what? For me right now, as I sit presently in the gift, right? In the gift, where it starts with love, right? A love that's never lost and a love that is never late. It stands here and it definitely goes, don't, to the future one. Don't wave it. Don't wave at the past. I'm telling you. The past is waving at the present, right? Don't allow the past to wave at the future. Just be well into the gift, right? Well into the gift of now. Well into the gift of now. Everything is pretty chilled out, but I know my eye over here is like, you just Burning through, burning out. There you are. I'm looking for the spoonage. The spoonage. The people of spoonage. Spoonage. The people of spoonage. Which I think Family Guy is on Spooner Street. So that kind of, that's like I said, homage and such. Be like, that's the trope, huh? The trope, the trope, the trope. Speaking of trope, you don't want to declare war on them mangoes, not at all. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I could believe it, right? But I'm saying it just never occurred to me. So now it really is just a matter of it's a matter of replicating an environment, right? And now when I say replicating, I mean to the best parts and to the best parts and the not so best parts, because that's when the balance comes into play to feel like you know both these people are in their right to want their cherry pie and to have a justice against the pit, right? Because it was the pit. So Pokemon Go and Parks and Recreation. Like I said, I love my adventures with my friends in a way that makes me kind of go like you knew what adventure was, and I can't wait to find the next adventurers into the mundane. It's not mundane, right? You can make anything exciting so long as you bring fireworks. Which reminds me, I need to look up the firework. Some stuff I'm starting to realize that they just don't make it, like they don't post it out into the city hall or main street because it can get fun too quick, and fun that gets too quick can become fatal quickly. Because remember, it's not all fun and games. And always remember, I don't play games. I don't hunt man. I don't fish for compliments. Because it's not all fun and games. Fun and game. There's a time and place, and you got to put on your happy face. I'm just saying, there's a time and place for fun and games. But when it's real, and fireworks are real, I love me a good firework. Man, oh man. Look, can you see? I'm so excited. I just can't even hide it for the summer because we're already getting started. We're already getting started. I want this lemonade to be perfect for this fireworks show. You hear me? There's about to be some fireworks, y'all. Okay, that's not too bad. Mm. So you know what it does need? It does need more water. Mm. You need more water. We didn't have to. We did two sweeps of we did two sweeps of the booger zest, right? So we're almost to a gallon here. We're almost to a gallon. That makes it hard to put into a unit of measure that makes it manageable and feasible, right? To count and think to oneself how we're gonna do this, because once we master, right? Once we master, I'm gonna throw in a little bit of this. Once we master a gallon, right? You upgrade in sense to the 5 gallon, right? Look at that. It like that. That sugar said we're gonna go straight to the bottom, which is why the stir, right? The stir has to happen. If you don't get a good stir, you're gonna get settled, and if you get settled, well, you better be hot cocoa because you're gonna be sitting in front of that fire for a long time. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that as far as be joyous, for it will be a holiday in a settled place. Because in a settled place, you'll drink cocoa. This lemonade right here, fixing to be lightning. Which, by the way, I think it was called their charged lemonade. There's some. I think it's Panera Bread. Like I said, when you start talking about things that show up on your feed, look into it. But Panera Bread has a whole set of lawsuit right now that they're, I think it's charged lemonade or lightning lemonade or something. They had it on self service tap for a while, and long story getting shorter, someone got a pit of cherry stuck in their throat, and they took it off. They took it off of the shelf. So in his tragic death, it came out the question to think to me, uh, at what point do you say, hey, that's on you, right? Right? When you have freedom, you tend to turn into a freak. That's what the free means in freak and freedom. They people think freak is EA, is actually EE. Follow me for more spelling tips, okay? The freedom, right? The ones with the freedoms are the freaks. And if you are the particular freak who, you know, took down the bully nature of a very caffeinated drink, but I think the dispute, like I say, go look it up, or I'll put the link into what I found. It was in passing, right? I just happened to read it, or had it read, or read it. Which, by the way, I'll leave that one alone because I have to do some fact checking and go out to see for the entertainment value and the sake that it is. But I am happy, right, when it comes to um, not letting fear being what dictates, not letting fear being what dictates your actions and behavior, despite the fact that it's okay to be fearful in a sense that it's natural, right? But if you don't lace up your boots because you're afraid or because of fear, you've already failed, right? You've already failed, and and failure is okay. It's when your failures start accumulating um, into a misfortune that you think is forever, and it's not forever, right? Because remember, I told you, when it starts in love, it is never lost and it is never late. And there's no forever in something being on time, and it's always on time. If it's always on time, then forever is insignificant, right? In the same regards as priceless. It's no longer a measure. So, but I am happy I measured that in myself for this Reddit. Like I said, I don't have any fear or FOMO, right? Because it's up and down, up and down. I think it stabilized back at 43, 45, or something like that. So your stock bros were able to come in and swipe or no swiping. This adventurer said, even though she was not an adventurer, she was an explorer, and those are two different things, right? Ah, tragic, they're the same. If they were the same, they would be called the same thing, Becky. My name's not Becky, it's Rebecca. Exactly. See, it's the same thing. Uh, if I have had a dime for every time that happened, I would have a nickel. Because the disrespect in return is the one thing that you have in your head, and you kind of, like I said, you go back to that committee and you see to yourself, and you're like, so everyone agree here that Rebecca has lost her mind in how she was talking to me, and everyone kind of looks at each other. Like I said, look to my left, look to my right, and we all kind of look at each other and go like, okay, so we have two options here. We can either make this a very, very funny story, or we can make this a tragic story. And gratefully, they're the same thing. And so, you have that whole thing happening in your head in the committee. And then for me, on the outside, with the face that I do have, because we got to make sure we keep it 100. And you start 100 with a smile, and you say, you know what? And then walk off, right? Walk off, walk off, walk off. The distance is the best. The distance is the best response to disrespect. And that someone had no intentions of respecting you in the first place, because there's no reason to respond in that way. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to come about it, no matter who you are, or what you've been through, or what your experience has. Like I said, it's a trope. We all have these tropes. Okay, remember, it's not that we don't like Narcissus for being, okay, is that he drowned himself. That's like, this is where the ache of it comes into play, right? As far as I think it's the same. I think it's the same regard of saying, you cut your nose to spite your face, or something along those lines, right? I have to look up to exactly the extent of what that means, but it's the same as saying, you threw out the baby with the bathwater, because you could, and that right there is not free. It's just dumb, right? You're not a freak. You just have this dun dun. Have a whole Mike post about it. But have you seen Mikey? I haven't seen Mikey, because you know what Mikey needs to do right here? Mikey needs to help me try this stuff out. because it's gonna be a second. We are saturated. We are saturated in our taste buds to make a lemonade, and right now we're starting to realize that having something consistent in a roller coaster mindset, if you haven't outgrown roller coasters yet, something that's inconsistent can be the detriment to your train of thought. And when you need to have that train of thought, the first thing you need to have, right, is that destination. For that is the mission. The mission is to get there. And guess what? The mission will be complete. The mission will be fulfilled. The mission will be accomplished. And you know why? Because we have these shared values. And within these shared values, we know without falter, with clarity, that our vision is going to shape into something that we can share, right? And not have to spend a whole bunch of time looking at the past that won't wave to the future when the present and the gift of what we have right here, right now, is sweet lemonade. That's what we got. That's what we got. And you know what? You're gonna have to enjoy it. And I say that like it's a demand, but you know what I mean? If someone say, do good things for yourself. Is anyone gonna argue with that? But then that's when you find yourself walking in a world of tone deaf people, right? Where it's almost like, did someone cut off the music? Man, nothing's worse than going to a doggone party and there's no music or entertainment about, and they call it about it being a party, right? But even anything of like a social gathering, like there's not even some type of ambiance. Like I said, I don't have to hear the latest Taylor Swift album. I really don't. Oh, I am so sorry. Looks like someone punched in your radio. I have no idea. And I don't say that as a hater. I'm saying that at a certain point, when you saturate yourself in the same lemons over and over and over again, you kind of just want to sit this one out, right? That's the citrus in you. You just want to sit it out. Sit it out for the rest of us. I'll drink my lemonade over here. Thank you. Good for her, good on her, but she can make her money over there. I'll have it. I just saying, the last time I seen her, it was Shake It Off. Like I get really particular when it comes to being, like I said, in corporate spaces and kind of looking at the ambiance and nature of the business, because that's just the way my mind builds in these Legos and building blocks, right? Which more on that later from I think episode 1 or part 1 or a couple videos back, but uh at 6:13, you know, at 6:13, opposite of when great 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 granddaddy needs this doggone cherry pie. And I'm saying that as far as these are the calming methods that you have to look at yourself and say, oh, I see the pattern, right? I see the pattern in this space. And in this space, at 6:13, Taylor Swift, shake it off, shake it. Like it would play at the same time every day. Same thing with Tony Braxton. Tony Braxton back at the grocery store he used to work at, 6:08, because it was in the morning, right? It's morning shift. 6:08. Unbreak my heart. Say you love me again. I'm like, dang. I don't want to hear this every Saturday morning, Sunday morning at 6:08. You know what I mean? As far as working, and and like I said, I'm at work, so you can't really have too many things to say. But in that 15, you know what I mean? Can you really complain? Just smile in the rat suit, dude. Can you really complain? Like, you can get all the ice cream you want now. You didn't have to pull your tonsils out for them. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't even have to pull your tonsils out to get, this amazing ice cream. Like, come on, feel good about that. Real stuff. But I think we're gonna go ahead and get off here. I think we have made, our tragic landing and tragic entrance into this space. It's been exciting to see. While the day is still young and sun, right? I'm gonna, like I said, head off here, go to church, and just liven up and share some of this happiness that I've come across, this progress in these lemons. It's gonna be a time. I'm gonna go ahead and make this 5th-gallon batch and have a good week, right? And recognizing what's to come for this particular recipe. Y'all take care, and I'm gonna get out of here.